of the Irish Premature Babies charity, the women behind setting up the charity and the support that they offer each other on a daily basis, the huge amount of effort that goes into fundraising, everything from rock concerts to motorbike tours right around Ireland. But most importantly, we're going to talk about the work that goes on in the natal intensive care units. So where better to start than right here in the centre of Dublin, where the oldest maternity hospital in Europe is, the Rotunda Hospital. But what is a premature baby and why do they need our support?
Our main role here in the neonatal intensive care unit is to care for very vulnerable premature babies. Often those babies would be at what we call as the limits of viability, where they are extremely premature, only 24, 25, 26 weeks gestation, meaning that they're kind of been out after about 6 months of pregnancy.
I can see you now, perched up.
So this means that it is a challenge of trying to replicate what the placenta does while the baby's inside the womb. Although we could never really achieve that, we strive to try and provide all the supports that the baby needs as much as we can up to our ability. So we have to support the baby's breathing because the lungs are premature, and that often requires having a tube being passed down into the airway to support the baby's breathing. We have to take over the baby's nutrition as well, and that is a challenge because the gut during premature life is not ready to absorb milk, so they spend a large period of their initial life being fed through drips artificially.
Words cannot explain how much you mean to me.
A high-risk baby is either a very premature baby who's born too soon, or a baby with a congenital anomaly that needs surgery, or a baby who's very unexpectedly sick at delivery and needs a lot of support to keep them breathing and alive. Normal pregnancy is 9 months, or 40 weeks is what we would say, and if a baby is born less than 36 weeks, technically they're premature, but the babies we worry the most about are those born then less than 32 weeks, and especially less than 28 weeks.
We have babies who deliver as young as 24 weeks gestation and up to term. And the chances of survival for a baby who's born extremely premature at 24 weeks is approximately about 50 to 60%. And as their gestation increases, their chance of survival increases. And when they reach about 28 weeks, when a baby is born at 28 weeks gestation, they would generally have about an 80 to 90% survival rate. So our statistics are really good compared to other centres, both in Ireland and in Western Europe.
Craig was born at 31 weeks due to I having a condition called preeclampsia, which meant my blood pressure went very high, and then the baby was getting into difficulties and they felt that he wasn't doing really well. So on St. Stephen's night they decided to do an emergency section, and it was so quick that my husband didn't even get into the coombe for the birth. So Craig was born and he was taken off to the neonatal intensive care unit straight away. That night I was brought back to the ward, but I was still very sick, so I didn't really realise that I had a baby or that he was born or anything else. So it was the next day I eventually got down to see Craig in the unit. My husband was allowed down to see him earlier on, and then I eventually got to hold him about a week later, when he was a little bit stabilised.
Well, I found out I was expecting twins, and initially I was like shocked because I have a 1-year-old at home, so it's like, oh my god, I'm not going to cope with that. And then later on, as the pregnancy went on, I found out I was having monoamniotic twins, which is a very rare twin pregnancy, which means the twins were in a same amniotic sac. The mortality rate was 50-50, so from fear of surviving with twins, I then just wanted my twins to survive. So my kind of attitude totally changed. So the pregnancy went on. I was kind of monitored really, really closely, regular scans, regular checks, and constantly the hospital were reminding me that, you know, they could pass away at any time because of the type of pregnancy that it was. Then I got to... we agreed that we would deliver the twins at 32 weeks because anything after that, it was too much danger. So they basically said to me, I knew that they were going to be born premature, so I got to actually visit a NICU while I was still pregnant, have a look around. I was able to meet the doctors and nurses, kind of see and hear the sounds. I was a little bit kind of prepared for the intensive care and the type of situation. But I got to 29 weeks and I was due to deliver at 32. I went in for a regular scan and unfortunately one of the heartbeats had stopped. So one of my little girls had actually passed away. So I had to have an emergency section to deliver her sister because she was making herself anemic trying to save her sister. So the decision was made with a number of consultants that we deliver the twins, and I had an emergency section, and from my first pregnancy it was perfect. I was never sick. I delivered naturally, just a bit of gas and air, not a bother, to this kind of clinical rushed. It was just so different, and it was just I took me a while to kind of actually remember it all, for it all to sink in, because it happened so quickly. But they delivered the girls, and Emily was left with us straight away. We got to, they cleaned her and they gave her to us. So we were able to hold her straight away. But I heard Heidi cry for a couple of seconds and then she was gone straight to NICU. But they had kind of given us an idea that they would be taking her away straight away because she was 29 weeks. So she needed to have vitamins and be prepped and everything for NICU immediately. So my husband and I were, I think initially it was just shock because we kind of resounded to the fact that we were actually going to get to the 32 weeks, and our two little girls, they were so strong and they were doing so well. So we really kind of were in shock. We couldn't believe that we didn't get to the end, the finish line. So the next couple of days, it was 24 hours before I actually got to see Heidi, but I knew what she looked like because I had Emily there and they were identical twins, identical, like you could not tell them apart. So even though Emily was asleep in our arms, we kind of knew what Heidi looked like, and it was bittersweet.
Words cannot explain how much you mean to me.
Lily was 28 weeks to the day when she was born, and she was 690 grams. She was smaller than a regular 28-week baby. She was about the size of 24, 25 weeker. I didn't actually see her because she was an emergency section, so her dad had to go upstairs to the NICU to her because she's taken straight away. She had to be ventilated. She was tiny, but when she was born, she went straight up, so they took photographs of her, but her dad has her first photographs, and because she couldn't regulate her body temperature, she's put into a sandwich bag. So my first photograph is of Lily in a sandwich bag to keep her warm, to keep her alive.
You're an ocean in my heart.
While Lily was in hospital, it was Ben's birthday, so he was going to be 11. And he couldn't understand why he had this sister that we kept telling him about. I'm still convinced he thinks that, that's not what happened. I kept telling him there was a baby and he had a sister, and he's saying, well, why can't I see her? The plan had been you'd have the baby, Keith would go into you, then I'd come see my sister. So he never understood why. So for his birthday was in February, he asked if instead of getting a present for his birthday, could he go see his baby sister? It was heartbreaking to tell him, no, you just can't, this, infection control, kids aren't allowed in. And he couldn't understand why. We had this baby, he had a sister, but he wasn't allowed to meet his sister. And he didn't meet her for another 3 weeks after that. But he said, oh, well, if I can't not have a present, if I don't have a party, if I don't do anything and I just don't have a birthday, then can I go see my sister? And sitting down and trying to tell him that we're going to go into town for your birthday, but then we have to go and say hello to your sister to make sure she's okay. We're leaving him on his birthday. He's not allowed to see his sister. It was just heartbreaking. It was so horrible that he still talks about it. And he's nearly 15. He still talks about the fact that we wouldn't let him go to the hospital to see his sister.
One of the most important fundraising events is the annual Ride Out for Prems, and it starts every single year at the RDS Dublin.
my name is Naomi Cullen. I am an ambassador for the Irish Premature Babies charity. I am an ambassador now for just over a year. I'm very excited and very honoured to be one. I didn't know very much about the charity when I first started out, but after working and talking alongside all the girls and guys within the charity, I found out that it's 100% voluntary. They get no government funding. They put a lot of their own time and effort into the charity, and it's such a worthwhile cause, and I am extremely happy to be a part of it.
My husband and I are here today because we're the parents of a premature baby, and my husband John has taken part in the ride out for prems. Our baby Billy was born on 13th of December 2011, 24-weeker, so he spent 15 weeks in the hospital. I suppose we went through all the roller coaster ride of wondering was he going to make it, then when he did make it, just being so happy to have him home. And we found out about the Irish Premature Babies charity and the support that they gave and the information. So we're happy to take part in it and raise money and be there to give support to other parents that have been through the same situation. So we have Billy here with us today as well, and hopefully we'll go and meet the group during the bike ride as well. And he's 14 and a half months now and doing really, really well, so we're really happy and really proud. John really enjoyed the ride out last year, meeting other parents that have been in the same situation and getting to talk to people in the hospitals and getting to see where the money raised went to as well, and being able to fundraise and being able to give something back. Having been through it ourselves and feeling that we could give something back at the end. So he really enjoyed it, and he's really looking forward to taking part again this year.
Pat Courtney from Radio Nova. Why are Radio Nova so heavily involved with the Irish Premature Babies charity, and why is it they help out so much with the bike tour around Ireland?
I think it's the energy. Like, I love the energy of the people involved and their attitude and their lightheartedness about a very serious subject, you know. And I mean, today too, they've actually bought incubators which have kept premature babies alive, and that affects. It's not just the baby; it's families as well.
Absolutely. You know? And what work do Radio Nova do to help support the charity? How do they help out?
Work? How does this work?
So would you be...
Well, publicity is a big thing to do with it, of course. Publicity and turning up and having a good time. Tonight we're here with the Harleys.
Gary, you're the lead singer of the Harleys, the rock band, who so kindly donated their time to be here tonight. Why do you feel they need to be involved with this charity, this particular charity?
Well, the charity itself, I suppose, is something that affected a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure as everybody is related or has a friend who has needed this charity at some point in their lives, and basically we would know the guys who organised the charity pretty well from gigging the circuit, and we struck up a friendship with those over the last few years, and we've been playing around the circuit ourselves. So we've had no problem. Once they asked us if we'd be available to play, we made ourselves available.
Bob, you're a very important part of the fundraising team here for the Irish Premature Babies. What's your story and why are you so involved in this charity?
We had premature twin girls when we moved over from Australia in 1997, so it's a very close thing to my heart now, so it's very important for me to give them a dig out where I can.
Absolutely. And this year you're going on the Ride Out for Prems bike tour around Ireland.
This year we're going again, yeah, I can't wait.
So you are officially a Prem warrior.
I am what's known as a Prem warrior.
Which means you're a part of the biker gang.
Which means, yeah, we're part of the gang, and we've each raised €1,000 to go on the trip, and the money goes directly to equipment for the hospitals, and it's all good stuff now. Great bit of crack.
And you'll be lucky enough to actually stop off at some of the hospitals and hand in the equipment.
We will. We take the equipment with us, and some of the lads will get up in the wards and have a look and see what it's all about. You know what I mean? So
it must be a great honour for you.
It is. Listen, it's nice to do things for other people if you can.
Well done.
Thanks very much.
At the crack of dawn on a wet Dublin morning, all the Prem warriors, with family and friends, arrive at the Honda Centre in Ballymount to get ready for the ride around Ireland.
She was something. She picked me right up and helped me start again. I was lying.
Before they hit the road, riders are briefed on all safety aspects of the trip and then split into their teams and introduced to their road captains, who explains the route, riding formations and exactly what to expect over the next 4 days. The first stop, the bikers go visit the Natal Intensive Care Unit at the Rotunda Hospital and hand over a cheque for €20,000.
So the Irish Premature Babies charity works extremely closely with the Rotunda Hospital, and we're very grateful for the support that they give us. Unfortunately, with the current economic climate and the general downturn, the budget allocation that we get from the HSE doesn't go anywhere close to providing the sort of funds that we need to look after these very, very premature babies. So all the support that we get from the Irish Premature Babies charity is hugely gratefully received.
At the end of day 1, the group arrives safely at Letterkenny General Hospital in Donegal and receive a hero's welcome.
Well, this last 3 years the Bakers have done their charity run throughout the country and visited the hospital here in Donegal in Letterkenny. And it means so much for us, for these gentlemen to raise money to come round and donate money to the hospital. Every year they've done so well, and we can't thank them enough for everything they've done.
Guys, we all made it up to Letterkenny in one piece. You must be so proud of yourselves.
Yay!
How do you all feel now about going in to see what all the hard work is going towards? Nervous, excited, mixed feelings?
Apprehensive, I'd say, yeah.
Have any of you been in here before?
No. Yes, I was. I was in the maternity ward.
So you know what to expect?
I know what to expect, yeah.
What should I expect?
Babies.
Funny, I just was discussing with one of the bakers, the perception of a baker is a tough man that you might not like to meet in a dark night, but they're just such a crowd of soft-hearted men. They're wonderful and just such a lovely bunch. Some of them we see last year, some of them are new faces, and it's like a homely feeling. We really enjoy seeing them. It's wonderful.
Guys, I must say the two of you look a little bit out of place standing here in a NICU in your leathers and stuff. This environment must feel quite strange to you.
Yeah, a little bit strange, all right, to be here and to see the age and the way that the children are cared for, Charlene. But the cost involved in trying to keep one child alone in an incubator and keep it heated and alive and working there, it's just incredible. And as this man says, like it's a
but like everybody down there actually trying to support prems and actually get as much money raised so that we can actually maybe give them an extra few shillings to actually purchase extra equipment. Not dependent on, say, somebody else from the outside, i.e. a woman that had gone through it, that donated one of the machines, that it took her to actually donate that because she went through that experience.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take that. People should just be doing it anyway. The money shouldn't be that hard to get. You know what I mean? Like, life is life, it shouldn't.
And is that why you're going to continue to do the right thing,
Yeah.
do the right thing
Yes,
next year?
definitely. My first year doing it, and I've no intention of holding back. Hopefully next year I'll raise twice, and the next year twice that. So again, it does looking at a life sitting in front of us there, actually fighting for its life, and if we can actually help it in any way, definitely.
like that child is struggling there. It's living, struggling, but it's all and being cared in the best way possible by the nursing staff here in the ICU. So at the end of the day, it's just incredible work that has to be done. It's incredible to see that.
He does look so comfortable.
He does, he does. Definitely.
His incubator unit, 5 days, only 5 days.
Of course.
The baby in the incubator behind us, is it a boy or a girl?
It's a little boy. He's 28 plus weeks gestation. He's 5 days old today.
How well would the baby be developed?
He would have all his body parts are intact. He would have immature lungs, and his systems, his systems would all be immature. Okay. But his body itself is fully formed, but just needs to mature the lungs and the gut. And
so, in general, after a birth of 28 weeks, how long would a baby need to stay in an incubator like this?
The incubator really would depend on the progress of the baby and the weight gain of the baby. A baby would usually stay in an incubator up until about 1.8 kilos, 4 pounds. And everything goes hand in hand, development. He should be on feeds at that stage mostly, and everything would go hand in hand. It's really temperature control. The incubator itself is for an observation at the minute.
It means so much to the unit to get this money, the cheque for the unit, for all those guys to get on their bikes and to ride up through Ireland in that bad weather. I know what it's like, so I ride a bike myself, but it's amazing, and it's going to mean so much to the unit to get extra equipment for us, for our little premature babies.
I think probably for us, from the hospital sort of point of view, especially sort of currently in the recession, there's very little money for equipments and things like that. Very, very needed sort of things for the babies. So it makes a massive difference in simple terms from the baby's point of view. So anything you get an extra little bit something for the babies. So it does make a massive difference.
Sean, you are the original Prem warrior, and you started this bike ride, the Ride Out for Prems, how many years ago now?
It's 3 years ago now. Originally I decided, listen, what can we do to help raise money for Irish premature babies? Got on the bike, rode around Ireland with no money, no accommodation and no money for fuel. And people rang into Radio Nova and sponsored and paid for accommodation. And also we had Apple Green pay for our fuel.
All right, and then the following year you rounded up the troops.
Yeah, the following year I just said, what can we do to make this better? I need to get more people involved, raise more money so we can buy more equipment. So I went around all my mates that rode bikes and said, listen, raise €1,000, let's do this trip together. And that's how it started off.
3 years later now?
3 years later, and this year we have 25 bikes. So each one had to raise €1,000 for life-saving equipment. And it just makes a huge difference. To get guys on board, to be on bikes and doing what they love and making a big difference.
And you've been in the NICU before. Today was my first experience, and as you can see, it just, I don't think that words can justify how I felt in there, and actually how I'm still feeling now. It's very, very emotional and very, very humbling. How did you feel when you went in to see the babies?
Like, I went into 2 of them because I did the trip originally on my own. So I went into 2 NICUs and I seen the babies, and then I seen like they were so small and they're just fighting for their lives. And I remember sitting down in a hotel and I ordered a pint and I was on my own and I just started crying because it just got to me at that stage, realising like, here's these little small babies that fit in your hand and they're just fighting to survive, and they just need more equipment to help them survive. And I just said, what can we do to make this better?
Sean, you and the guys are absolutely doing great work, and I hope it continues in many, many years to come. But how did it all start? How was the first bike ride ever come about?
I was in the garden, and this lady was going door to door, and she came in and she said, I'm selling these books, I'm raising money for Irish premature babies. And it was like this thick, and I said, oh no, I said, I'm dyslexic. There'd be no point in me even trying to read that because it's too big. I said, I like magazines and stuff.
But I said, maybe I could do something for you. I said, I'd just come back from Route 66 raising money. And I said, maybe we can put an event together to raise money for you. And she just thought, I'll never hear from this guy. 3 weeks later, I rang her and I said, look, let's do this trip round Ireland, no money, no accommodation, and we'll get in touch with a radio station and see if they'll help us out.
And it went from there?
Yeah, went from there. And here we are now, 3 years later, and we've got like 25 or 30 bikers, and we're raising like 50 grand. And we're able to buy pieces of machinery for all the hospitals around Ireland.
It's hard to let you go when you're all that's ever been. Mighty oaks falling, hey, never to be forgotten. The sea consists of many drops. You're an ocean in my heart. I can see it now, your reflection and your smile.
With Irish Premature Babies, the charity is getting so much bigger, and every time we have an event we can really see it snowballing, and the work is definitely getting a lot more and a lot harder, but we're enjoying it at the moment, and hopefully we're helping parents out there with support and resources, and we really want to do more, but it's just trying to get some fundraising and the time to do it. But hopefully after doing the ride out for prems around the country, you can really see that it is making a difference, and it's the reaction and the feedback from parents that make it all worthwhile.
I love doing what I do with the charity, and I kind of think that, you know, Emily is kind of helping us. She's looking after Heidi all the time. She's helping me. She's kind of pushing me to do what I do with the charity, and I just love it so much. Like, I'm so passionate about it, and I really, really enjoy it.
Hey, never